So, welcome back with the new economic policy of 1991. In this, we are going to talk about the need for economic reforms. So, what was the need? Basically, we had a fiscal deficit that had to be looked after. That was the first one. Then there was a failure of the public sector. Public sector wasn't showing results as we had thought of. Then there was a high rate of inflation in the economy and balance of payment crisis. Learn it as FIB, F-F-I-B. That is fiscal deficit, failure of public sector, inflation and balance of payment crisis. So we're going to talk about a little bit on each of these. So just go through that. You have to know this. So the fiscal deficit actually was 8.4% of the GDP in 1991. Now, what does fiscal deficit mean? What does it mean? It means the government borrowings. It shows the government borrowings to meet its excess expenditure over receipts. So for the deficit means we have to go in for heavy borrowings. And we were caught up in a debt trap. That means to pay the debt, you have to borrow. So that is a debt trap. So that's why it became even more scary, alarming. And interest payment rate was as much as 39% of the total revenue collections of the central government in 1990-91. So then that was a fiscal deficit which was very high. Talking about the failure of the public sector. Initial 15 years we saw there was the public sector undertakings did perform well and satisfactorily. But then after that we saw there were quite a many losses then. They started incurring losses. And they were infested with corruption, red tapeism, and there was inefficient functioning. So now, because of that, the government policy now felt it was high time that it shifts its emphasis from the public sector to the private sector. So we've done with F. Then inflation, continuous increase in prices were seen during that time. The persistent rise in prices during the period, say between 50 to 1991, was an all-time high of say 17%. And then we had B, that is balance of payment crisis. That too was constantly on the rise. As a result, foreign exchange reserves of India came down to the lowest ever level in 1991. We do not even have foreign exchange reserve enough to pay for 2 weeks of imports. So this is what we've done. So the need for economic reforms were there, and what is we've learnt as FFIB.